Hi, this is Alan Olson, and welcome to American Dreams. My guest today is Jordan Devey. Jordan, welcome to today's show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Alan. I appreciate it.
So, Jordan, you've had a remarkable career in the NFL. It seems that every team you touched was usually on their way to the championships. You're in possession of a Super Bowl ring, and then recently you're making a career transition. But before we get to the transition, I want to roll back, and I want you to kind of give me your story of how you got to where you are today, what led you into football, and then we'll talk about the transition of the next phase of your life. So let's start from in the college, high school time frame.
Yeah, no problem. So growing up, I played football in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. After eighth grade year, I stopped playing. I joined the band in our high school, and I was a baseball player. And so I had a knee condition, Osgood which is actually fairly common. I think most kids have it, especially ones that are growing faster than everybody else. And so, like, I was a catcher in baseball, and I'd finish a game, and my knees would just be swollen and hurt. So I went to the doctor, and he kind of recommended to take it easy from football for a little while. So I stopped playing football. My older brother was in the band and marching band, so I joined the band. Thought it would be fun to spend some time with him, and I ended up just doing band all throughout high school, and never went back to football until I was 21. So after I graduated high school, I went on my mission for my church for 2 years, and then when I came home, I kind of got the fever again to play. I had a bunch of friends and companions that I'd met while serving in Costa Rica, and I was 6'7", probably about 250 pounds at the time, and the common like phrase was like, "Man, why aren't you playing football somewhere? What are you doing? Like, why aren't you playing football?" Uh, and so when I came home, I found a school at Snow College that would let me basically just come on and try out and see if they liked me. Uh, I remember making the call. There was a coach there. His name's Mike King, and I called him right after I got home from Central America, and I said, "Hey, I'm trying to play football. It's been a few years since I played." And he's like, "Well, how many years?" And well, it was probably in eighth grade. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. Probably not, but like, how big are you?" And at that time, I was 6'7", 250. And he's like, "Really? Well, could you come down here and meet with us?" I can come down today, tomorrow, whenever you want. So I ended up making the drive down there. Um, and he's like, "Well, what position would you be looking to play?" And I said, "Well, what position you guys need?" And they said, "Well, offensive line." I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And then the rest is kind of history. I walked on at Snow, ended up getting on scholarship my first fall there. Started every game my 2 years that I was there. My sophomore year, I started some offers from some schools. I ended up signing with the University of Memphis. I played 2 years at the University of Memphis. Started every game there. Um, and I was drafted. I actually signed with Baltimore as an undrafted free agent. They let me go right at the end of training camp, and I was picked up by the New England Patriots.
So, Jordan, you're the Osgood slaughter disease. I actually had that myself my sophomore year. One of the most painful things, swollen knees. You're trying to find solutions for it, and it's good. It's good to know that I met a fellow alumni.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's pretty common. The more and more people that I've talked to, everyone has different experiences with it. I know I didn't stop growing until I was 21. Like, I grew another 2 inches from the ages of 19 to 21. So, I mean, everyone's different. I feel like I had mine for a long time.
You went through high school as a band. I'm just curious, what instrument and band?
So I was a brass player. I started out with the trombone, and then I ended up on tuba for the last 4 years of high school.
Now, starting football at 21 after serving a 2-year mission. Was it easy, or did you feel you had extra work in front of you?
It was very challenging. I remember after one practice, one of the coaches just kind of pulled me aside, and he knew, that I was trying out, and he just asked me a football question, and he's like, "What would you do this play versus this defense?" And I just remember looking at him with a blank face and just feeling completely embarrassed. I was like, "I know what the play is, but that defense does not ring a bell." And I was like, "Honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm still learning this." And he's like, "Well, you just got back from Costa Rica, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You just learned Spanish, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right. Well, right now, football is a foreign language to you. So whatever you did to learn Spanish, just apply that to football." And then it kind of clicked for me, like, "Oh yeah, like it's it's just that easy." Obviously, it's a lot of hard work, but I had just applied those same principles and was able to pick it up pretty fast.
So fast forwarding, Snow College, then you Memphis, and then the pros. Uh, your transition from college to the pros. What was it like your first practice with the pro players?
Well, I can remember um, just the speed of everything had changed, and it was just much, much faster. And in college, there's some teams where they have a few studs. There's a lot of teams, that it's like every player could go out and play in the NFL. So, like in the college, you only face like one or two guys, maybe every few weeks that you're like, wow, this guy's like NFL caliber. Um, but then when you get to the NFL, it's like every guy is their team's stud, and it's just so fast, and just the level of like expectations and the level of performance, like it's just everything is much higher and much faster. It was kind of a whirlwind, and you kind of just feel like you're holding on for dear life.
No, you ended up. Was it the first season you took the ring, the Super Bowl ring, or?
It was my second year in the NFL with New England. My first year we lost in the AFC Championship, I think to Denver it was.
So that must feel pretty good. That ring, well
Yeah.
deserved.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a pretty remarkable year. My wife, we found out she was pregnant earlier on in the year. I ended up getting a lot of playing time that year. We had a really good offensive line group, which makes or breaks a team, I believe. So we had a real good group of support. But then, going to the Super Bowl, my wife was, I think, 35 weeks pregnant at the time. So to win a Super Bowl and then 3 weeks later, the birth of my son, like it was just, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better year.
So Jordan, there's a lot of the young and upcoming players, and playing in school, high school these days. They look up to the pro players. What advice would you have for them?
I'm There's a lot that I would say to them. I mean, from my experience, I had set goals, and each goal was a little bit smaller, and then like kind of building up to it. So like when I first got to Snow, it was like I'm going to work as hard as I can and get the school paid for. And then once I got that scholarship, I was like, all right, well now the next goal is to get you know to a 4-year university, that education paid for. And then once I had that, it was just kind of like keep working, setting goals, and holding yourself accountable. And throughout my career, it was just kind of, I tried to work harder than those around me. I tried to keep my nose clean, stay out of trouble. Especially nowadays, no team wants, the headline players that, as soon as the off season starts, they're getting in trouble with the law or they're doing this and that. Like to just not be a burden to a team is a huge asset.
So after 8 years in the NFL, you're now transitioning. What do you have your sights set on for the next phase of life? And I realize it may be still in the works, but just
I mean, it is still, I think, very fluid. I was fortunate, like I said, to have my schooling paid for, and so I made sure to take advantage of that. I ended up because my last semester, I was training for an All Star game and then the combine and then pro day. I ended up using the NFL to help pay for my last semester of college. And so even though my last season for the University of Memphis was 2012, I was able to graduate with my degree in accounting, I think in 2016. So I take one class every off season to make sure that I got it. Now it's kind of just trying to use that degree in accounting, use my mind more than my body for the next few years. Starting up a tax firm. My father-in-law is a CPA, and he's been running a firm down in Texas for the last, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. And so hopefully help him for a few years and then help him transition into retirement and take over his gig. And then the rest is just I'm kind of up for anything. It's kind of seeing which door opens for me.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I appreciate you being with us today, Jordan.
No, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and best wishes to you in the next phase of life. I've been visiting here today with Jordan Devey, a former NFL player, now transitioning out into the world of accounting and beyond. So,
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.